But let's move on now to cognitive development in infancy and childhood. And we can't talk about cognitive development without talking about Piaget. So this is one of the leading theorists of childhood cognitive development. This is Jean Piaget. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but yep. So Piaget believed that children were little scientists. So everyone looks like this, basically. Everyone is super into experimenting on the world. They figure out things in the world by doing things themselves. They interact with their environment. They construct their own knowledge of how things work. They learn things on their own, so they have to figure things out for themselves. And they do that because they're intrinsically motivated to learn. They don't need rewards from adults. They don't need to look to intervention from older children or adults in order to learn. They intrinsically will do it on themselves. So it's a very kind of, children are fully capable, children are individuals, independent, able to kind of construct and figure out their own knowledge. Now, one of Piaget's key ideas is that cognition tends to mature as the child learns to use concepts and organizes schemas to think. So think back to the memory lecture. We're using a lot of kind of callbacks here, which is really cool. We talked about a schema in memory. A schema is this kind of set of expectations about objects and situations. We talked about how you have a cat schema of what a cat tends to look like, right? So schemas help us make predictions, which are useful in novel situations. So imagine that a child has this well-developed schema for birds. They know that birds have wings, they tend to have feathers, they tend to be able to fly. So if a child learns about a new species of bird, for instance, this hawk, they might assimilate that information, incorporate new learning into existing schema without needing to change the schema. So here they're observing a new part in their environment. They're like, oh, hey, that's a novel bird that I haven't seen before. It also has wings, also has feathers, also can fly. Cool. I'm just going to assimilate. I'm going to add that to my knowledge that I already have. But if they learn, for instance, they see a penguin. Penguin's also a bird, but a bird that can't fly, right? So maybe a child then observing this penguin needs to accommodate by incorporating this new piece of information into their existing bird schema and potentially revise it. So maybe, okay, not most birds can fly, but maybe not all of them can fly. So what this is kind of showing is that infants tend to observe, make their own kind of connections in the environment and either assimilate or accommodate information that they get in their kind of shortcut schemas. So one of the kind of way that you might see this in a child's behavior is when, for instance, a child learns that they can reach out and they can grab an object and pull it closer to them. So maybe they reach out and they grab their favorite toy or something like that. They then can apply that knowledge that, okay, I can reach out my hand and I can grab a thing and I can bring that thing closer to me. They can apply that or simulate that to other types of objects. Maybe they do that with a blanket or their bottle or something. Even though they haven't pulled that object before, they're able to apply their knowledge to other related things. Now, in addition to this refinement of schemas, Piaget made other observations about cognition at different ages. And he's super famous for coming up with these main kind of stages of cognitive development. And we're going to go through each of these more in depth. But we've learned kind of through additional research that not all of his proposed developmental stages are entirely accurate, but they were super foundational and they form the basis for a lot of what we know in development. So let's walk through each of these stages one by one.